have to do this with Hillary real quick. This level of psychosis and psychopathy, as far as I'm concerned, it really speaks to the level of control and the power that the Clintons still have over the party. And so the Queen herself, or as she thinks of herself to be, was on MSNBC the other night, as I'm sure some of you have seen the clips of. But the comments that she made regarding controlling the people is so dangerous beyond words.
I love that she's saying it publicly, though. But
there's people that really wish that she became president over Trump. Like, they think that she is infinitely better. Okay, here we go.
I am struck by the fact that as his campaign careens into very, very offensive territory, the association with Holocaust deniers and the outrages at Arlington National Cemetery, of all places, the insults to recipients of the Medal of Honor, the recent incredibly racist and dangerous lies about specific groups of immigrants, Haitians in this case, and Venezuelans in the case of Colorado. I am struck by the fact that as much as we thought we might have been inoculated against sort of outrage tactics like that, where everything else gets thrown by the wayside and everybody starts responding to his outrage du jour, it's a way of sort of yanking everybody's chain. I sort of feel like we haven't learned, and he's still being taught, especially by the media, that the more offensive he is, the more he can dominate the media space entirely. And I
just have to say, I'm not a lawyer. She is, but if this ain't leading the witness, and I've never seen it before in my life, it's tell
me exactly what we want to hear. You didn't warn me that I was having to stomach Rachel Maddow with Hillary Clinton.
When you think about the biggest sellouts in all of media, I don't think there is anybody.
Let me tell you something. You know what? If Ed Schultz was, I wonder, what
would Ed Schultz
think of what happened to Rachel Maddow? I don't know.
Oh Lord.
I feel like you've been a good diagnoser of that, not only from when you were up against him, but from when others have done so. Do you have an antidote for that, or a way that people can talk themselves out of taking that bait?
I think that's really a critical question, and I think there's a couple of things going on here. You mentioned the press, and sadly, the press is still not able to cover Trump the way that they should. They careen from one outrage to the next. What was outrageous 3 days ago is no longer on the front pages, even though it threatens the physical safety of so many people, particularly, as you point out, immigrants that he and Vance have decided to demonize. And I don't understand why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is. The late, great journalist Harry Evans, one time said that, journalists should, really try to achieve objectivity. And by that, he said, I mean, they should cover the object. Well, the object in this case is Donald Trump, his demagoguery, his danger to our country and the world, and stick with it. They were merciless about what they saw as President Biden's, problems in the debate and calling for him to withdraw. I believe Donald Trump has disqualified himself over and over and over again to be a presidential candidate, let alone a president. The second thing, though, is
and yet he's been one, and you have not. And that must piss her off to no end.
She seems to be getting infinitely more curmudgeonly as every day goes by.
And authoritarian.
Yes. Well, we're going to get to that in a minute, but
dear Christ.
There really is something to be said. Like, why doesn't anybody tell her maybe you should speak to somebody?
Because she owns the people that own the station. In fact, that question that you found leading, the reason it was leading is because it was handed to Rachel Maddow from Hillary's people as to what to basically ask her. So everything here is being fed via script, everything. So that's why it was leading. It was written by Hillary's people.
Like, I see her as a very, very, very dangerous person. Like, people joke about whether or not bodies have been buried literally and figuratively. If you told me that bodies were buried, I would believe it.
Are you talking about her?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. What are you?
She has this, like,
Oh my God.
She really does have this Empress Palpatine thing going on.
See, I'm not a candidate anymore. I could say Seth Rich. I can say
Vince Foster.
Thank you.
Remember, Vince was able to successfully shoot himself twice in the back of the head. I mean, that's pretty
amazing.
Impressive when you think about it. That is one thing.
How much more do we have to endure? You're
Not
killing
a lot,
us.
but this is the most important part.
Okay, because
part of what Trump is counting on is for people to get desensitized. I mean, oh my gosh, did you hear what he said yesterday? Did you hear who he attacked? Did you hear the viciousness? And it just like with a shrug, okay, fine, we're moving on. Well, Americans need to understand that they have to take Trump both seriously and literally. He has said what he wants to do. He and his allies with Project 2025, his desire to be a dictator, at least on day one, all of that is in the public record. And I believe that more Americans have to be, willing to endure what frankly is discomforting and to some extent kind of painful. To take him at his word and to be outraged by what he represents. And then finally, the hopeful side of this is that I do think more and more Americans are, rejecting the kind of chaos that he represents. We can't go back. That's what the Harris campaign says all the time. We're not going back. We're not going back to, what he failed to do to protect American lives during COVID. We're not going back to the, romance with dictators that puts, innocent lives at risk and America's security in danger. We can't go back and give this very dangerous man another chance to do harm to our country and the world.
Well, there you go.
I couldn't have said it better. I agree, but we can't give her one more chance to do harm to this world. And we know that Kamala is her puppet. So to me, she is case in point. I cannot make her go away.
Steve, how many memoirs has she written since she lost the presidency?
Too many.
Oh my God.
I honest to God, this is no joke. I take great pain to not hear her speak. And I'm sitting here trapped on a camera with a microphone watching Contavious Snatchhead sitting there mouthing off. I mean, it's like horrid.
Worse, right?
Horrible.
Like, she's
the worst.